This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea.
This is Voice of Korea. Dear listeners, now we start English language service of Voice of Korea from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Now we present the immortal revolutionary paean, Song of General Kim Il-sung. We now bring you the immortal revolutionary paean, Song of General Kim Jong-il.
listening to VOK, Voice of Korea, News Now. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un visited monuments to pay tribute to the anti-Japanese revolutionary martyrs on the National Liberation Day. Comrade Kim Jong-un, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea and President of the State Affairs of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, visited the Revolutionary Martyrs Cemetery on Mount Daeseong on August 14th on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation. Present on the occasion were senior party, government, and military officials, including members of the Presidium of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and leading officials of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly, the Cabinet, commissions, ministries, and national agencies, and commanding officers of the Korean People's Army. A guard of honor of the Korean People's Army lined up there. The national anthem of the DPRK was played. A wreath in the name of Comrade Kim Jong-un was placed at the wrestling stand of the cemetery amid the playing of wrestling music. Wreaths were also laid in the names of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, the State Affairs Commission of the DPRK, the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK, and the Cabinet of the DPRK. Comrade Kim Jong-un, together with all the participants, paid a silent tribute to the memory of the revolutionary martyrs who devoted their precious lives to the sacred struggle for the independence and sovereignty of the country and its prosperity. There took place a march past of the Guard of Honor of the Korean People's Army. Comrade Kim Jong-un said, "The anti-Japanese revolutionary fighters' beautiful ideal of communism, transparent revolutionary faith, and indomitable fighting spirit are injecting eternal viability into our people in their struggle to build a prosperous, powerful country the martyrs desired, and stated that the cause of the great Korean people will be ever victorious as they are carrying forward the high revolutionary spirit and noble view of life generation after generation." Then he visited the monument to fallen anti-Japanese revolutionary fighters. With reverence for the well-known and unsung anti-Japanese revolutionary martyrs who made a contribution to accomplishing the historic cause of national liberation, remaining faithful to the ideology and leadership of President Kim Il-sung, he placed a flower at the monument and observed a moment's silence in memory of them. Looking at a sculpture of 3 members of the Korean People's Revolutionary Army fighting a heroic battle and a stone monument bearing many martyrs' names, he said that although the bodies of the martyrs who dedicated their precious years to the revolution to retake the dignity and freedom of the country and the people were buried in unknown mountains and fields, their proud images and feats are clearly recorded in the history of the country. He hoped that the pioneering generation of the Korean Revolution, who created the priceless revolutionary traditions of the Baekdu and handed them down to the new generations, would be always remembered at the peak of the highest honor and dignity, along with the advance and development of the ever-victorious socialism of our own style. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un visited the Liberation Tower on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation. Comrade Kim Jong-un, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea and President of the State Affairs of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, visited the Liberation Tower on August 14th on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation. Accompanying him were senior officials of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea and leading officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of National Defense of the DPRK. A guard of honor of the Korean People's Army lined up before the Liberation Tower. The national anthems of the Russian Federation and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea were played. A wreath in the name of Comrade Kim Jong-un was laid amid the playing of wrestling music. Written on the ribbon of the wreath were the letters reading, "We will not forget the feats of the martyrs of the Soviet Army." Comrade Kim Jong-un paid high tribute to the martyrs of the Soviet Army who bravely fought for the liberation war of our people for freedom and independence of the country. He looked around the Liberation Tower with those officials. Looking back with deep emotion on the militant feats of the officers and men of the Red Army who dedicated their hot blood to the sacred cause of Korea's liberation, he said that even after the lapse of time, and even though one generation may be replaced by another, the DPRK people will always remember the noble soul the martyrs put into this land and the heroic, self-sacrificing spirit displayed by them. The excellent history, traditions, and ties of blood between the DPRK and Russia now serve as a fundamental cornerstone and inexhaustible driving force for the bilateral relations of friendship and cooperation, he said, stating that the great friendship and unity between the two peoples, forged with the noble ideal and genuine militant friendship, would be steadily carried forward and developed generation after generation, along with the new era of comprehensive efflorescence. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un received a message of greetings from the President of the Russian Federation. Pyongyang, Comrade Kim Jong-un, President of the State Affairs of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un, I extend heartfelt congratulations to you on the occasion of Liberation Day, a national holiday of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. This holiday is symbolic of heroism and toughness of the Korean patriots and soldiers of the Red Army who fought together to liberate your country from Japan's colonial tyranny. Created just at that severe time were the lasting traditions of militant friendship and mutual assistance that have served as foundations for the development of the friendly and good neighborly relations between the Russian Federation and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The ties between Moscow and Pyongyang have now been raised to the unprecedentedly high level of comprehensive strategic partnership. Our states are actively cooperating in all the sectors while making concerted efforts to ensure the regional security and stability. I am convinced that we would as ever conduct constructive joint undertakings on the pressing bilateral and international issues for the well-being of the peoples of Russia and the DPRK, and for the establishment of a more righteous and genuine democratic world order. I heartily wish you success in good health and all the DPRK citizens happiness and prosperity. Yours sincerely, Putin, the Kremlin of Moscow, August 14th, 2026. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un received a message of greetings from the President of the United Russia Party. Pyongyang, Comrade Kim Jong-un, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea, President of the State Affairs of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to you on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of Korea's liberation from the Japanese colonial rule. In 1945, soldiers of the Red Army and patriots of Korea dealt an annihilating defeat to the Japanese occupiers and thus liberated Korea. Still now, the tradition of sacred militant friendship handed down by our heroic preceding generations serves as a durable foundation for developing cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang. I'm convinced that to steadily deepen the bilateral cooperation in all fields, including cooperation between the United Russia Party and the Workers' Party of Korea, occurs with the fundamental interests of the peoples of the two countries and contributes to consolidating stability and security in the Asia-Pacific region and establishing a just order of the multipolar world. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un, I wish you good health and fresh achievements, and our citizens of the DPRK success and happiness. Medvedev, Moscow, August 14th, 2026. A ceremony was held on the 14th to pay respect to the bronze statues of the great leaders Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il on Mansu Hill on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation. It was attended by Park Tae-sung and Cho Yong-won, members of the Presidium of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and other leading officials of the party, government and armed forces organs, senior officials of the party Central Committee, the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly, the Cabinet, commissions, ministries and national agencies, and commanding personnel of the Korean People's Army. a guard of honor of the Korean People's Army was lining up. A floral basket in the name of the respected comrade Kim Jong-un was laid at the bronze statues of the great leaders. Floral baskets were placed before the bronze statues of the great leaders in the names of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, the State Affairs Commission of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK, and the Cabinet of the DPRK. The participants in the ceremony paid tribute to the bronze statues of the great leaders, solemnly looking back upon their noble lives and undying faith. Senior party and government officials visited the Korean Revolution Museum, an immense edifice for education in revolutionary traditions, on the 14th, on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation. The visitors included Park Tae-sung and Cho Young-won, members of the Presidium of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and other leading officials of the party, government, and armed forces organs, senior officials of the party's Central Committee, the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly, the Cabinet, commissions, ministries and national agencies, and commanding personnel of the Korean People's Army. Flowers were laid at the Patriotic Martyrs Cemetery in Sinmiri of Pyongyang on the 14th, on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation. Present on the occasion were Ri Hee-yong and Jong Kyung-taek, secretaries of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and other senior party and government officials, officials of the party's Central Committee, the Standing Committee of the Supreme People's Assembly, the Cabinet, and armed forces organs, bereaved families of the martyrs, students of the revolutionary schools, and Pyongyang citizens. The visitors laid flowers before the monument at the cemetery and paid a silent tribute to the memory of the martyrs who devoted their lives to the greatest and sacred motherland and the victorious advance of the Juche Revolution. The respected comrade Kim Jong-un received floral baskets from the embassies of the Laos People's Democratic Republic and the Socialist Republic of Vietnam in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of Korea's liberation. The floral baskets were conveyed to officials concerned on the 14th, respectively by the Laos Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and the Chargé d'Affaires ad interim of the Vietnamese Embassy. The oratorical contest of university students for carrying forward the revolutionary spirit of Baekdu 2026 was held at the Youth Park Open Air Theater in the city of Pyongyang on the 14th, on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation. Present there were officials of the Youth League and university students in Pyongyang. The orator said, "The present of socialist Korea is possible thanks to the day of national liberation brought by the great leader Comrade Kim Il-sung, who led the bloody anti-Japanese war to victory, and the future of the country will be brighter thanks to the respected fatherly Marshal Kim Jong-un." Players of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea proved successful at the 11th Asian Taekwondo Championships held in Mongolia between the 3rd and the 9th. At the championships, they won 99 medals, including 75 gold medals at a number of events, such as the men's and women's team patterns of the adult, youth, and juvenile categories. They also obtained the total trophy cups of the adult, youth, and juvenile categories, and the men's and women's best team prizes. They received the men's and women's best technique prizes respectively in the adult, youth, and juvenile categories. The Taekwondo players, who glorified the honor of the country at the 11th Asian Taekwondo Championships, were warmly greeted by senior party and government officials, officials in the field of sports and other relevant sectors, sports people, and their families at the Pyongyang railway station on the 14th. Working people and students in the capital city sent warm congratulations to the players along streets including Sungni Street. The National Contest of Taekwondo Amateurs 2026 took place at the Taekwondo Hall in Pyongyang between the 9th and the 14th. The contest brought together more than 1,000 children, school children, and working people selected from across the country. The players competed in the pattern, sparring, and fighting, divided into several categories according to ages. Cups, medals, and diplomas were awarded to the organizations and players that proved successful at the contest. Staff members of the Embassy of the Russian Federation in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea laid a wreath before the Liberation Tower in Pyongyang on the 14th, on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of Korea's liberation. Guards of honor of the Korean People's Army were standing at the tower. Present at the wreath-laying ceremony were Chargé d'Affaires Secretary Vladimir Dopecha and other staff members of the Russian Embassy. The national anthems of the Russian Federation and the DPRK were played. Amid the playing of the wreath-laying music, a wreath in the name of the Russian Embassy was laid at the Liberation Tower. The participants paid a silent tribute to the memory of the fallen soldiers of the Soviet Army, who highly displayed the noble internationalist spirit in the secret struggle for the liberation of Korea before looking around the tower. That day, the staff members of the Russian Embassy placed the wreaths and flowers at the cemetery of the fallen soldiers of the Soviet Army in southern district of Pyongyang. On the other hand, they called at the monuments to the Soviet Army in different places of the country, including Xinhuizu of North Pyongan province. And the staff members of the Russian Consulate General in Chongjin called at the Liberation Tower and the cemetery of the fallen soldiers of the Soviet Army in Chongjin of North Hamgyong province and in the city of Rason. The daily Rodong Sinmun on August 15th carried an editorial under the title, "Let us strive more dynamically for prosperity of our precious country under the leadership of the Great Workers' Party of Korea on the occasion of the 81st anniversary of national liberation." VOK News, Pyongyang. This time, you will listen to the song "The Leader Will Stand on Mount Baekdu Forever," created in 2003. guerrilla tactics. The Korean people put an end to the colonial rule of the Japanese imperialists and established the historic cause of national liberation on October 15, 1945, under the wise leadership of the great leader Comrade Kim Il-sung. It is thanks to the Tuesday-oriented guerrilla tactics created by Comrade Kim Il-sung that the young Korean People's Revolutionary Army could perfectly control 1 million-strong army of the Japanese imperialists, superior in numbers and military technique, without any assistance of a regular army or state backing. Once, the Gas Company of the Korean People's Revolutionary Army, under the command of Comrade Kim Il-sung, was marching towards a big forest zone, going around the Fu-Ho-Shui Plateau. That stiff mountain was covered with punitive forces everywhere. While inflicting wholesale death upon the enemy, making frequent attacks by dealing successive blows to them, Comrade Kim Il-sung used the tactics of going down the Fu-Ho-Shui Plateau in a large circle with the enemy behind. The enemy, who could not know these tactics, began to follow the Gas Company without reason. The Gas Company continued to advance along the roads that had already been stamped down firmly with the enemy behind it. When the marching ranks made 2 rounds of the Fu-Ho-Shui Plateau, which was a full day's walk to make 1 round, another enemy punitive troops appeared from somewhere to follow the Gas Company. After making a keen watch on the enemy's movement, Comrade Kim Il-sung let his men march faster with a big log on their shoulders and made the following enemy not lift their heads up by firing a volley at them. When the ranks reached the place where they began to go round the Fu-Ho-Shui Plateau, he saw that they put the log over the stumps of trees standing sparsely on the snow and slipped out of their plateau on that log. The enemy, who didn't know that the Gas Company had escaped like a phantom without any traces, began to go round the Fu-Ho-Shui Plateau, following each other. It was only when the darkness settled that one punitive troop overtook the other preceding troops and fought a fierce dogfight between themselves. The firing continued all night, and it was not until the day dawned that the enemy knew they had been fighting with each other and stopped firing, but it was too late. There is no end to talk about the guerrilla tactics created by Comrade Kim Il-sung during the anti-Japanese revolutionary struggle. We can see that from the battle of Fosun County towns, which used the tactics of defeating the enemy in the west after making a sound in the east, the great victory in the battle of Hongtou-shan, which put the enemy into a punch bowl like a rat in a trap, and the tactics of rapid maneuver in which a large unit passed through the Kapsan-Musan-Ghat road in the daytime. The victories won by the Korean People's Revolutionary Army in the battles during the anti-Japanese revolutionary struggle were a brilliant fruition brought by the flexible strategies and mysterious tactics of Comrade Kim Il-sung. There was an account under the title Creating Original Guerrilla Tactics. This is Voice of Korea. Here is band music. 7th Regiment stands before us today too. still so low in Pangchang. Oh, tender-hearted father.
그 이야기 나누며
We now bring the song, Our Faith. Going on the road started in Mount Baekdu generation after generation, we have kept this faith in all the trials. Who can break our faith, the firm faith we have kept looking at the party central committee? We will defend only Comrade Kim Jong-un.
Here is orchestral music, The Road of Victory.
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Europe between 15 and 16 hours UTC, between 18 and 19 hours UTC, between 21 and 22 hours UTC, and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 13,760 kHz and 15,245 kHz. For North America, between 15 and 16 hours UTC and between 13 and 14 hours UTC on 9,435 kHz and 11,710 kHz. And for Northeast Asia, between 4 and 5 hours UTC and between 6 and 7 hours UTC on 7,220 kHz, 9,445 kHz and 9,730 kHz. Goodbye, this is Pyongyang.